Welcome to the Virtual European Congress 2020. My name is Tina. Even though it says Kristina there, just don't pay attention to that, it's Tina. And I'll be your chair/moderator for today. I'm an alumni of AIESEC in Serbia and Kazakhstan, and after spending a few years abroad working in project management, I moved back home and I got a job in marketing. So currently I'm working as a content manager at Kinto Join. Maybe you heard of Kinto Mobility. It's a Toyota brand, a Toyota company, and it's basically offering sustainable mobility solutions. Typically, when you chair a conference, chairs will love to pull out a random chair from somewhere and start comparing themselves to it. Since this is a slightly different format and I kind of need my chair because I'm sitting in it, I won't do that, but I have to say that I do feel more keen to a beanbag. You know, something that you can use as a chair, but it's also pretty moldable, so you can transform it into whatever it is that you need. So in case you have a guest over and you don't have enough pillows, you can have your little beanbag pillow, or you can use it even to sleep on. So I did create this illustration to basically not steer away very far from my chair ancestors, and at least, you know, show a chair because I do think it's really important. But not showing one, it will be like kind of a crime. So right next to it, you can see me in the corner. That's your friendly neighborhood host/moderator. Today, my job will be to lead you kind of through the agenda that we prepared for you today. And what I'm willing to promise is that you will end the day feeling just a bit better than you came into it, just to kind of turn that frown upside down and just to feel that AIESEC spirit. This year has taken all of us by surprise. I don't know where you were this time last year, but personally, I was preparing for a trip to Turkey, and I was planning on a bunch of other trips. In the end, my passport is sitting sadly in a drawer, and it hasn't been used since January. So people have different hobbies and different ways of winding down, and mine has always been to travel and to explore and to learn about new cultures, learn new languages. Some might call this an adventure, but personally I call it staying sane. So I'd like to show you some of the pictures from my previous journeys and kind of tell you what they mean to me, and then we'll talk a bit about what travel is and what this pandemic in reducing it has done to people. So this first pic was taken in Barcelona, where we were very lucky to arrive just in time to see the sunrise. And while it was too cold to even think about going in the water, we did have some fun in the sand, which can be seen here. But let's be honest, if I were to Google pretty sunrise, I get about 1 million similar, if not more beautiful pictures. What makes this one special is that it's mine. I tied to a bunch of people running around without shoes and screaming right before 2 seconds of calm happened, and I took this picture. And then we went directly back to mayhem. In this next one, there's a very important local who's photobombing my attempt to update my Instagram account. It was taken in Berlin, and I remember bursting into laughter afterwards and not being able to even pose anymore. And then there's this one. It was taken, I think it took me around 15 minutes to take this picture, and I remember just trying to, I got the higher ground, and I was trying to take a picture of this beautiful panoramic view without people in it. And it's very silly now to think of this, because if I'd only known that all I have to do is wait a few years and all the streets will be empty for me taking pictures of this type, I could have just waited. It's only now with this new reality that's been imposed on us that I see how eerie pictures like this can actually seem. For me, going to new places and exploring them means understanding what makes a culture, what the history of the place is, what the customs and the silly traditions are. In China, for example, they're very big fans of the number 8, and they don't really like the number 4. And this is mostly because the number 8 really sounds similar to the word for rich in the language, and the number 4 sounds similar to the word for death. And this is a very good thing to know when you're playing games with Chinese people, but it also shows a bit of their mentality. And every country that I've been to, at least, has similar similar beliefs and traditions, and they're all very silly, but that's what unites us, really. Another thing that I really love to see while traveling is the complete randomness in which things are presented for travelers. So I've seen this was taken in Georgia, and I've seen some amazing things there. To this day, I still haven't eaten anything better than a hajapuri, and I find the customs fascinating, and the language is one of the most difficult and beautiful languages ever. However, I never did get some of the choices they made in displaying their culture, like this image right here of just a random pot on the top, sitting on the top of a hill. It is pretty, but it's a bit pointless as well. The next one is kind of a favorite of mine because it shows everything that I believe an image taken in a foreign country should be. It's just a regular place, a shop, a stand, however you want to call it, with regular people minding their own business. It's images like this that really show us how people live day to day. And us as tourists are guests at their house. So it's important to take these types of imageries and actually understand how we're living. Then, of course, we have something completely opposite, which is an attempt at fanciness in Almaty with this beautiful bird and some of the flowers. Sadly, it looks much, much worse in the winter and the autumn, but it's okay. I mean, they tried. And then there's the flawless beauty of Magdeburg. Even though Magdeburg is not a very big city and it just has this one beautiful cathedral that's old school, everything else is pretty new. This picture is very dear to me because it was taken while I was on a picnic, and it was one of the rare moments where everything just kind of, that moment when everything is perfect. That's 2 seconds where you believe that everything in the end of the day is going to be okay. And this is what this picture represents for me. And then this is going to be the last image of this type that I show you. And it's an out-of-focus pebble at the streets of Warsaw. I was trying to capture the old city, but in the end, I ended up capturing the science building as well. So it ended up being kind of a mix. And again, it was photobombed by a random person walking by that I tried to avoid. So yeah, I've been to a few places, but I'm betting most of you have traveled just as much as I have, if not more. But let's be honest, all of these travel pictures mean nothing without the stories and the people behind them. Because to be honest, I don't remember seeing much in Lublin, but I do remember it was one of the best times of my life. So what really set that apart for me was the kindness of the people there. It was not just there, but in general, what really ties a place together for me is basically meeting new people, getting their support, getting to know how they think and tick, and the sense of unity that forms around the idea of a global world. And these are the things that have recently seemed endangered. We've all turned to ourselves, which is completely understandable given the circumstances, but this new reality is making the vision of a global and equal world a bit harder to reach. For me, China would have been a complete mess without the people showing me how to use chopsticks or showing me how to properly cook rice. But it's the random travel pictures that mean nothing out of context that truly actually take the cake. Like what you're seeing on the screen now, it's arriving late to Stockholm. You realize that the metro is not working and you have to walk to your hotel. Or in the next picture, we have represented my fear of the birds and my feather phobia. And then you have a bird land on your head and on your hand. And this is how you conquer fears, but let's be honest, my face right there really encompasses how I feel about both words and birds and the world of 2020. But there are some irreplaceable things that can be captured on film. Like on the next picture, playing some chess in the rain with your favorite person on the other side of the lens. Or in the next picture, the smiles of the kids you work with and you started caring about. Or maybe even realizing your attempts to take a selfie are pointless and your friend making fun of you in the next picture. Thank you for that, Petra. It was really nice trying to take 10 selfies and having you laugh at me. And these are the moments, these are the connections that we forge with people while we travel, and the people that we meet along the way. Those are the things that are, for me, worth fighting for and worth living for, because just exploring and adventuring, this is what it means to live. So as you can imagine, 2020 has been a bit nightmarish for me. I can just say I now officially know how caged birds feel, and I urge you all to let your parents wander freely. Not parents, parrots. I always make that mistake. Sorry about that. But all joking aside, it has been a very strange year. A year of global turbulence, of fake news, of personal rediscovery and adjustment. Some of us have changed or lost our jobs. Some are dealing with a completely new reality of having to work from home with additional challenges. I mean, I know for me, it's challenging even trying to keep my cats away from my laptop and the keyboard. And I can only imagine what it's like for parents to actually try to work while they're at home. But in the end, what I find very interesting is that one thing that differentiate us is our mindset and solution-oriented approach. In time of hardship, most of my AIESEC friends come back into themselves. They reconnect with their values and reset their goals. I believe that this is because we've been taught to do this. It's what we're used to doing. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't take a lot out of us. It takes a concentrated effort to take a deep breath and try and come up with a solution, a step-by-step guide to success, fulfillment, and happiness. And this is why it's always good to have a supportive network that can inject you with a quick shot of energy when you need it. And this is what today will be about. We have amazing speakers for Alumni Talks who will share their perspective on things that are truly important. And then later on, we'll have a panel discussion with alumni from different sectors and fields just to check in how their adventure of turning COVID into something palatable is going. We'll also have some time to reconnect with each other, to get to know one another, form bonds, and feel that AIESEC spirit in full force. And we'll be talking about how to become more sustainable as well, a topic we must focus on as its importance is becoming paramount. We've all seen what our absence during the lockdown has done for the environment. So it's good to look for and try to find ways to function in sync with the environment instead of actively dismantling it. We'll also have a chance to see what our AIESEC alumni and AIESEC Europe people have been up to, and we'll even wind down with some games and roll call. Listed here on the next slide are some rules for today. First, feel free to ask any questions in the chat whenever you have any. We've set aside time in each session to do a Q&A, so we'll definitely be monitoring the chat for your questions. Also, don't be alarmed if you hear a short alarm. That's just going to be me letting the speakers know that they have a few minutes remaining. And lastly, and maybe most importantly, have fun. Try to soak up as much AIESEC spirit as you can. Try to reset and refresh and try to reconnect with your network.